All right, and we are live. Let me double check here. I think sound should be good, but we have major activity here. Let me just double check this. Yep, sound is solid. We do have major activity here where we could be seeing a real shift as far as the FBI arriving now. Let me show you the scene for what we have. Those vehicles, those are what we believe to be FBI vehicles, not Pima County Sheriff. And this is what you're looking at right now. This is the home of Nancy Guthrie. They arrived just a short time ago. We were watching them. They've been circling the house. And there's a lot to go over here, but the FBI taking a larger role, that would be, I think that'd be a step in the right direction. And I wonder if this is finally the sheriff finally deciding that he's gonna let them do their thing, because it was very significant with let me just it's very significant with what happened. And I've been talking about this if you watch the updates. But right now, what you're looking live at is you can see those we are believed to be FBI vehicles. You do see the sheriff in the driveway, but then those other vehicles, they arrived a short time ago. Hi there, Kristen Berry. Those are FBI. And let me go over why some of the reasons this is significant. That the video that Savannah put out yesterday, she said if you have any tips, go to the FBI. That's number one. Number two, she also let it be known yesterday that she wanted to put out the $1 million reward on the first day, but was discouraged from doing so by NBC News. Think of that. If it's NBC News, it's Savannah. So she put out that she let them run with the story that she wanted to put out the $1 million reward on the first day. The sheriff discouraged her, saying it could lead to false leads, that they'd be inundated. Now, yesterday, so just read between the lines there. I read that as the Guthrie family, specifically, let's say Savannah. Now, I don't know the dynamic, whether it's the brother involved as well, but Savannah's kind of she did the video yesterday. She's kind of the face of it. But the fact that she would let media know, specifically her own network, that she wanted to put out the $1 million award in the very beginning and was discouraged from doing so. I think that people may not realize it, but I think that was very significant. So the sheriff yesterday also, a couple of things happened. Number one, the sheriff's office said, if you have any questions about the reward, talk to the FBI. So suddenly they're like, they didn't like the fact that she let it be known. She didn't have to let that out, by the way. And I want people to understand that. She didn't have to let it be known that they wanted to put out the $1 million reward, $1 million reward on the first day. They didn't have to let that be known. So there's that. Yesterday, FBI let it be known that we're going to scale back their efforts, and they were going to consolidate efforts with FBI Phoenix. Now, the reason why that is significant is that's another thing that they didn't have to tell anyone they were doing that. They let it be known to this reporter that they seem to enjoy a good relationship with a CBS affiliate in Phoenix, and they let her put that out. So I think the last 24 hours between the video, you got to realize many times when things get out, you got to realize why are they putting that out? That was a loud statement by the FBI that, all right, like, listen, pal, you've been blocking us at every turn. He wouldn't do a joint command staff. I want to just say hello to everybody. He wouldn't do the joint command staff. Now, I've talked about, for those of you that watched and followed the coverage with Brown University from day one, that was a joint command staff between the Providence Police, the FBI, and the Rhode Island State Police. This, from what we understand, the FBI is making it very clear that this sheriff would not do that. So suddenly now, I'm getting the feeling, and I think the next power move here might be if, like, where is the sheriff going to be if Savannah comes out and says, I would like, I'm requesting the FBI take over this investigation. So what we're seeing right now, behavioral specialists from the FBI, this to me, and again, right now we're live on Facebook and we're also live on YouTube. We're going to be joined with our radio partners coming up at the top of the hour. But this is the most activity that we've seen at the House in quite some time. But I want to go back to this. To me, seems that the FBI is wanting to take more of a lead role here. From what we understand, the sheriff has been kind of holding them at bay, not sharing all the evidence, not letting them have the free reign that they wanted for the investigation. And it looks to me, I take this as behind the scenes, this could be at a breaking point where Savannah Guthrie is at wit's end. It doesn't make any sense. It's been a turf war, but is it possible that the sheriff now is saying, okay, I'm going to concede and we're going to let, now I know that may not make sense to some people and you would think, and I know this, I'm aware the sheriff in some of the press briefings has said, oh, we're all on the same page. Well, clearly not. I mean, clearly not. If the FBI is letting it be known that he wouldn't do a joint command center. Again, you can see a lot of activity here as far as this really got the media's interest. They rolled up, according to JLR, they even came up this is not one-way street. They approached from the other way and they rolled right into the driveway. Now, I observed them and I have video of them, and I'll be posting of them walking around the outside of the house. And I want to be very clear that the reason why that is significant is because we still don't know how the person got into the house. I've also been saying that I had a problem. I thought there was a problem with the timeline. And I've said that and I've posted on that. And, I'm not trying to take credit for anything, but we now learned from those images that there was a problem with the timeline, that the timeline actually begins January 11th, not at 1:30 in the morning when, suddenly the masked intruder arrived here. So the fact that they have images of this masked intruder and they believe that this individual was here on January 11th, well, that's huge because now the New York Post has a story that a woman thought there was somewhat of a young guy walking around the area several weeks ago before this happened and seemed out of place and just didn't seem like he belonged in the area. And that's really interesting because, as I was stating, the new image that they have released and said it's not the same night. So, and maybe I do want to show everyone exactly. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. But I've been saying really from the beginning that there's something wrong with the timeline here. And what we're learning is there was something wrong with the timeline because I think I'm not sure if you'll be able to see because of the glare of the sun, but it's the um, it's the individual that we've seen. It might be a little tough to see. You've seen the image of the individual, but right now on this day 25, as we are 6 minutes, 54 minutes after the hour, I think this is pretty significant that it would seem that FBI investigators, what you're looking at, is they have arrived at the home of Nancy Guthrie and they are going through. Now, this is really significant because the FBI, this also tells us that the FBI, prior to this, was not given carte blanche with the investigation. So that's very significant that the FBI now, they're coming in. It's very possible that they could be moving closer to taking over the investigation. And I want to be very clear. I think I recognize it's a turf war. I recognize that, the sheriff certainly apparently has had some run ins in the past with the FBI. And what we're learning now is that they have been kept at bay. I think it's very significant. A couple things. Number one, he would not do a joint command center. Now, what does that mean? As I stated earlier, Brown University, many times in these cases, Boston Marathon bombing, Brown University shooter, they have a joint command center where and like I'll just use the most recent example. In Providence, at the Providence Public Safety Complex on the third floor, you had Providence Police, Rhode Island State Police, ATF, FBI, all under one roof, all sharing information, all working together. And as a matter of fact, even with some other, Cranston Police may have been involved in that. Now, the difference is um, this time around with the Nancy Guthrie investigation, the sheriff, from what we understand, would not allow or do a joint command. So that's very, very significant. So we're going to be starting big development. I mean, okay. I'm just trying to keep up on everything, everybody. But again, this is day 25. And I think what you're seeing is also more fallout. And we're going to stay right here. I think this is solid, I believe, as far as Wi-Fi connection. And we're going to stay right here. But this is significant on this day 25 that we seem to have activity with the FBI investigators here. So, and I know that some people may not get that. And I think there's also, and thank you everyone. I'll be on Court TV again tomorrow morning. I was on Court TV this morning right here. It's hard to believe, but 5 hours ago. 5 hours ago. Um, I see Fox is saying someone's looking at the front window of the home. Well, you're looking right at the front of the home, and it's starting to get very warm. And I'm going to, we're going to stay right here where we are, and we're going to officially be joined by our radio partners coming up. But right now we are about, um, what's that? No, you're good. Um, I did post some of the clips from Port TV. But again, just to recap, yeah, we're going to be doing quite a bit of it. It's day 25. This is activity at the house. And it would seem that these are FBI investigators that finally, and this is really significant, that FBI investigators are finally being given, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but it's true, but access to the house. Access to the house. What do I mean by that? It means that the sheriff was apparently not allowing the FBI investigators to come and do their own investigating at the house. This can only be interpreted as a good thing because, and I think also, this could be coming from Savannah Guthrie. I think this could be coming from Savannah of, they've been patient and they've listened to the sheriff. And the sheriff, he discouraged them from, the sheriff discouraged them apparently from offering the $1 million reward on day one. And right now, even though it's a $1 million reward, they do not have apparently any suspects. And people are starting to use the term cold case. And that's not what you want. I think it's interesting. The father of Elizabeth Smart said, you have to, the press, if you're the family, you hate it, but you have to keep doing press conferences because you've got to keep the media's attention. So I get the feeling that something is going on behind the scenes with the Guthrie family is putting pressure on the sheriff and probably, very possibly, by the way, talking directly to the FBI and saying, what's happening here? Because, and I want to back up just for a moment. Now, again, what you're looking at, this is day 25, and this is live. We are live outside. This is the Nancy Guthrie home right here in the Catalina foothills. And yesterday was a significant day, as I've been talking about. You had Savannah Guthrie release the video, not only upping the reward, that was significant. She also reiterated that the mother, she believed her mom, Nancy Guthrie, was plucked from her bed. And that was something the sheriff initially said. And then he kind of backtracked and said that, I hope, people were taking that literally. But it's very possible, folks, that there could be a trail of blood from her bed literally out the door. So the fact that Savannah also said, contact the FBI if you have information. And she also seemed to come to acceptance that it's very possible her mom is no longer alive. So not only was that significant, but as I mentioned yesterday, NBC News, they were the first ones that I heard. NBC News posted that according to the Guthrie family, that they had wanted to post that $1 million reward on day one, and they were discouraged from doing so by the sheriff, saying that he might, by doing so, they would like overload the system with false leads. So, and what the reason that's significant is number one, that wasn't, Fox, that wasn't News Nation, that wasn't the New York Post, that wasn't TMZ, that was Savannah's network. Do you think, here's the question, would NBC, would they have posted that without the complete blessing of Savannah? The answer is no. So yesterday was significant. I also mentioned FBI. They let it be known to their, seems to be a reporter in Phoenix. She's very good. She seems to work with them a lot. FBI in Arizona is based out of Phoenix, which would make sense. But they were going to scale back their efforts and they were going to centralize back to their Phoenix headquarters. Now, again, the reason I mention that is significant is they didn't have to tell anyone that. They could have just done that. They didn't have to do that, but they chose to do that. So then the question becomes, why did they choose to do that? They wanted it known that they were kind of getting tired of the way they were being treated. So that's also very significant. Um, and now all of a sudden, the sheriff also said they may move to just, they're not even going to do a briefing every day, which seems ridiculous of a case of this magnitude, attention. And suddenly, you know, it's as if you feel like saying to the sheriff, why are we keeping you from something? Is there something else? Folks, before we officially begin, I'm actually just going to relocate. I really like to stay in the shade if I can, because otherwise we um, go into the possibility of overheating, which does us no good. So we're going to be a little bit farther back, but I think we should be good here. So we're not under the tent, but I think it's actually cooler right here. So, and you could still see where we are right now. And I want to thank JLR that probably over an hour, the FBI has been here. So this tells me, is it possible that they want to completely, oh, here they come. There they are. And you can see them right there looking in the window. That's a clear shot. And you see right there, for those that are watching, and they are right there and looking in the window, straight ahead, right in front of where that girl is. Yep, kind of blocking us a little bit. And you're going to see some of that's okay. You're going to see some of the media come down as well. But we're going to begin. Okay, so this is big. Right now, in the East, it's 11:06. In Chicago, it's, excuse me, in the East, it's 1:06. In Chicago, it's 12:06. Here in Tucson, it's 11:06. And we are on live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. And we're also live on AM 1380, 99.9 FM. Can always listen online at our website, depetro.com. Now, we are once again outside the home of Nancy Guthrie, and this is the most activity that we've seen in a while, where seemingly the FBI has come out and FBI investigators are doing their own investigation. Now, I've been explaining a little bit that, and I know some people may not understand, but there are turf wars that get involved when law enforcement's in the mix of things. And some people don't get that. I know the sheriff was asked about it. The sheriff has denied it, but the FBI has gone out of the way to make it known to people that they were, well, this tells me the fact that they arrived today, this tells me that they were not given full access to the home the way they may have wanted it in the past. So very, very significant developments. Folks, I want to encourage you for the links to, and you're going to see various media walking back and forth. This is also the most activity that the media's had on this scene. Now, between now and the next hour, we are also going to check on, I am aware of, last night nationally, the big story was the State of the Union. We're going to talk to Vic Meller, the controversial decision by Seth Magazine and not to attend. But right now, I want to reiterate what you're looking at for those that are watching, and we are live on Facebook and YouTube and also live on the radio. The drones are high above the house, and the FBI arrived here unannounced. And you know what's also interesting is not accompanied by the sheriff, by Sheriff Christanos, we have not seen. So the fact that they have come out, and as I've been stating, I think the last 24 hours, I recognize some people just say, have they found her? And it just doesn't work that way. So, no, they haven't found her. But Savannah Guthrie putting out that, and she's also on X, by the way, now. She's mostly been operating on Instagram, but last night, Savannah Guthrie, for the first time during this entire investigation, she posted on X, which I find interesting because that's really where the media is. So I don't know exactly how the Instagram thing started, but Savannah is now, um, she's also on X where all the media is. I know some people still say Twitter, but it's X. But folks, check out our website, depetro.com. We have links to all of our social media, whether it is TikTok, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and um, did I leave anybody out? TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and X. All those links brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. So I want to give a recap. It's day 25. And if you're watching on Facebook, you can share that you are watching. You can send stars. Um, if you're watching on YouTube, you can make sure you follow the page and also do super chat. I'm going to go back where yesterday, let's see, what's today? Today is day 25. So you had on Monday, it started to seem, you wonder, Monday, ABC pulled out and you started to see some individuals start to jump off the story. And, Savannah Guthrie, Savannah's in news. She can tell. She wants to deal in reality. So she could tell that people were starting to jump off the story. So, and it's true. I mean, because right here, where you're looking at right now, for those that are watching, this is where ABC Aaron Katursky was set up, and they've bailed out. Fortunately, they've left behind the tent and their table. And so, but they bailed out, and they were the media was starting to scale back. And I was seeing various people because there was other news. I understand. And Savannah knows the news business. And then yesterday, look at what has happened. Savannah lets out and posted that video on Instagram. And it was very distinct. And there was a lot of information in that video. And the information was, yes, the reward going to 1 million. But for those that have followed the story, she was basically, without coming right out and saying it, but basically saying that they had lost faith in the confidence of the sheriff to do this investigation. Because, and I take that as several things. Number one, she let it be known that if it was up to her, that they would have put that money up on day one. They were discouraged from doing so. That was significant. And also, that was, that was put out by NBC News. So who do you think their source on that is? As if NBC News would run something that Savannah doesn't want to. So, and then as I stated, the FBI locally making it clear they've been kept at arm's length. FBI making it known that the sheriff would not do a joint command center. And then the sheriff yesterday putting out a statement saying, we're probably not going to do daily updates anymore. So, there's been a pattern. There's been a pattern. For anyone that has paid attention, there's definitely a pattern here between breaking down the crime scene too soon, doing too many interviews, misspeaking, video of him saying Saturday night when he meant Sunday, him being at that basketball game, him suddenly then going into the bunker as he starts getting pushback. For anyone that was paying attention, as I have been saying, and I was telling you, I had a problem with the timeline. And it turns out I was right that there was a problem with the timeline because the timeline does not start. They were saying the timeline starts on that night before, January 31st at 9:45. She was dropped off, garage door opened, closed, boom, that begins. That's not the timeline. The timeline now is bumped back to January 11th when that individual seemingly was first seen here. So I knew there was a problem with the timeline. So what's behind all of this? This more and more is starting to look like some revenge against Savannah Guthrie by an unknown assailant. And then you had the ransom notes to TMZ that have not panned out. So, but right now, On day 25, I believe this is a shift. The sheriff is not saying, oh, by the way, I'm going to let the FBI take the lead more. I believe behind the scenes. This is my thought. Eventually, we will get confirmation. You don't always get confirmation right away, but I believe behind the scenes, either the Guthrie family, someone speaking for them, basically issued a edict to the sheriff of we're going to do this the easy way or the hard way. Either you're going to let the FBI have access to all the information, or I'm going to post a video saying I demand they take over the investigation. That's what I think was going on behind the scenes. And then suddenly, boom, day 25, and FBI investigators roll up and they are walking not only outside the house, but they have been spotted outside the house, but inside the house. So we are here. We're going to see what happens. However, because of the ability to juggle several stories at once, and I can do that, it is also, as you know, because we cover a lot of the news. This is obviously news, but there's also other news, and the other news is the big story, and that is that last night was in fact the State of the Union. Now, what is so embarrassing, as I've talked about, is the fact that when you're elected to do a job, that the bare minimum is showing up. And sadly, the state has an epidemic of elected officials who don't even do the bare minimum, don't even show up, such as comical to me, Congressman Seth Magaziner, I'm going to stay and shovel out my neighbors. He doesn't even live in CD2. So he's basically didn't attend a huge night in Washington because he was going to shovel out people that don't even live in his district. I'll tell you someone who would have been there last night, and that is someone that joins us right.
We just lost
Seth Magaziner, and there it is. It is Vic. Good morning. Very anxious, or good afternoon. Anxious to hear your thoughts. That was a lot of news that came down yesterday afternoon and also last night.
It was great news. And yes, absolutely, I would have been there, right? Even if there wasn't snow, Seth would not have gone. And if he did go, he'd have been on his butt the whole time, just like the rest of the crazy Democrats, right?
Yep.
Is it just so polarized right now where they are just so anti-American? It's absolutely, it's mind-boggling to me where we are right now as a country. So, yeah, how are we going to move forward here, John? What are we going to do, brother?
Would you have attended and stood and applauded for the men's U.S. hockey team?
Oh, of course. I did when I was watching it. I didn't need to be at the Capitol to do it. I did it just because it's in my blood. I'm a patriot, right? And the women's.
And the women, they will be there. What were some of the things that stood out to you last night other than, I think it was only fitting that Gabe Amo, Sheldon Whitehouse Magazine, that they didn't even bother attending, and as we talk about, they say so much of life is just showing up. They couldn't even do that. But I am curious to hear some of your thoughts of things that stood out to you.
Well, I'm huge into the medical field, and I'm a founding member of the GAHA movement, the Great American Health Alliance, which is, it's a premise of putting everybody's money back into their own hands instead of letting the government make decisions for them. And the president, who's aware of what we're doing, actually alluded to it a couple times yesterday. And that whole movement's going to be moving forward bigly, to quote the president. So the medical side of the house is big. I mean, obviously the illegal immigration, when the president said, hey, we're all elected officials, can we at least stand up and say that we represent our citizens and not illegals? And we all saw what happened there, right? So that's just this craziness that's going on. They don't represent Americans. They have this other agenda that is forefront. They're not even faking it. They're not even hiding it from Americans to see. It's mind-boggling to me. And the other part here,
go ahead.
I'm sorry,
go ahead.
Everything that needs to be done in the elections, because our elections are tampered with. And that is what allows these Democrats to be the way they are. All right. Because they know they got this shit locked up with the way the elections are. So once all that happens, the truth is going to come out. All right. So
What do you
back
make
to
of
you.
in New York City that you had to show two forms of ID to get paid for shoveling, but you don't even have to show an ID to vote?
Yeah, talk about a massive Freudian slip, right? Yeah, you know what I mean? So they get it. They just know that they cannot win these elections without illegals in the process. They just know they can't. And that's twofold. That's for the census also, right? Because they want that in there because they're losing so many seats or delegate counts, as the census figures out. So here we go. Here we go. It's all coming to a head right now, John. John, it's all coming to a head. These
Yep.
next few months, all the way up to the election, are just going to be historic times that we're living in. Yes, sir.
Now, Vic, I also want to put you on the spot here because Magaziner, not only did he say he's not going to go and wouldn't attend, but he starts with the name calling and basically saying that anyone that, voted for the president is a nitwit and the president's a nitwit. I think people are tired of the name calling. If you are hopefully, and you got my vote sent to Washington, could you pledge right now that you're not going to ridicule people that did not vote for you? You're going to be there to represent everybody.
Oh, well, yes, I represent everybody, and I will represent everybody, because ultimately, if you're doing good for everyone, it lifts everybody up. If you put the right policies in, everybody is lifted up. So what they do is they just pander to who they're going to get their votes from, right? And what we want to do and what I want to do is just raise the whole state, raise Rhode Island first. That's why I'm doing these rallies. It's Rhode Island first. It isn't Vic Miller first. It isn't anybody first. It's Rhode Island first, which as a team and together, we can make a difference in what we got to do here in the election process.
Let's touch on those rallies. People are starting to get excited. Next month's going to be a big month for you.
Yes, sir. Yep. March 7th is the first rally at the Warwick Crown Plaza. You can go to vicmiller.com, buy tickets there, or you can go to Rhode Island First Rallies.com and buy tickets there. General Flynn's coming up. Dr. Tenpenny's coming up. Matt Light's going to be a speaker. And then there's going to be a host of other Rhode Islanders that are going to come out and speak about the local issues. And, we're going to have 500 Rhode Islanders there that are, when I first started my, my listening tour 6 months ago, everyone told me there's no way I could make something like this happen. And here we go, because I don't believe what people have to say. I know what I got to do, and we're doing it, and we're going to make this happen. And this is going to be the first of many rallies up until the election. And we're just going to get everyone enthusiastic and let them know that they are part of the process here. And we need them. We need them to stop being disenfranchised and get out and vote, because we got to. We can do this right now. We're on the cusp, and we can make this happen.
Vic, one more thing before I let you go. Now, the governor declared, obviously, record snowfall, declared a state of emergency. But if you were in office, would you be down? The magazine is not there, but would you be in Washington? See, to me, that's an opportunity. If we have you, someone, you're there, reaching out to FEMA, reaching out, getting additional money and resources. Right now, we don't even have anyone in the room.
Well, we haven't the whole time. All four of our federal delegation all have Trump, Trump derangement syndrome, right? So
Yep.
I'm an ally to Trump. I'm an ally to all these people. I know them all. Of course, I'm going to be the conduit to get money and resources in to help in situations exactly like this.
And finally, what was your reaction watching the squad members name calling those obscene buttons? I think it's time to have someone who's not on their team representing the people.
Well, once we fix the elections, they're all gone. They're gone. The Democratic Party is going to have to swing back to being more moderate and more realistic in their approach here, instead of this globalist agenda that they're pushing. So, again, election integrity, Save America Act has to pass. And then we'll see what Trump does with some executive orders. But it's toxic. It's predictable. We know they were going to do that already. So here we are, right? Yes, sir.
Vic, you got a good buzz going. It's going to be an exciting month with the rallies coming. Thanks for taking the time, and good luck on the campaign trail.
John, thank you, and enjoy yourself. You look like you're in a nice place. Thank you, sir.
All right. Well, actually, we thank you, Vic. We continue to be with our coverage. Again, it is day 25, but he's wrapped up in the campaign. Folks, I want to just show you again that for those that are, nope, that's not the one. One more. And then we're going to be right there where we are. Okay, here we go. And there we go. Okay. Um, the FBI remains here at the home of Nancy Guthrie. And I had scheduled that. And it is refreshing as someone that is not just parroting the normal lines, but what you're looking at, the reason why the media is out here in force. And I think, is that the, JLR, is that the Mexican women? They're back? Yes, it is. You know, I went on their Facebook page. I thought they were going to be down in Sonora, but here they are. All right, we're going to try to catch up with them. They were the ones that they've had a lot of success finding. Let me see if I could pan over to them. A lot of success finding missing people. You can see them right there in front of the home of Nancy Guthrie. Now, they did come out over the weekend, and we have video up posted of that. Um, they, um, as a result of them coming out, though, they then also put up no trespassing signs, but they're not quitting. I like that, and they're coming out. I have a feeling at some point, not today, not tomorrow, but at some point, you're going to see Savannah Guthrie go up and hug both of those women and thank them for making the trek up here from Mexico. Again, I want to recap. It's day 25. So I want all of you, and I try to give perspective with how the press works, because the fact of the matter is, Savannah's in the press, and she understands that on Monday and over the weekend, that things seem to be kind of dying down a little bit. And so some of the networks, you know, they know what's going on. They were pulling back on some of their coverage. And so as a result of that, um, suddenly on Tuesday is when Savannah posted the video. And I'm going to tell you, I believe the last 24 to 48 hours behind the scenes has been very significant between the sheriff and also the FBI. Because what I'm looking at right now, and again, we are live on AM 1380, 99.9 FM, but you can also watch on Facebook and also on YouTube. And that is that very much unannounced FBI investigators have rolled out. They're right here at the home of Nancy Guthrie. They have been walking around the outside. They have been inside. Now, this also tells me, as someone that has been here since week one, now this is the first that I've seen them out here. And on top of that, I would also, I believe that the sheriff was keeping them at bay, and they had to just go off any information that the sheriff's people had. But it sure seems as though the FBI, and you can imagine, they wanted to come out and do their own investigation with their investigators. Now, again, I recognize some people don't understand the dynamic of that and how it does become turf war. But we've been hearing about that behind the scenes. And now you're seeing it in real time, that whatever was said, whether it was from Savannah or whoever, but to me, someone got to the sheriff and basically said, listen, as of right now, you're nowhere with this investigation. And they're not. I mean, they don't have any suspects. I want to also reiterate, and again, I want to thank folks. I do want to thank so many of our wonderful sponsors, such as Propane Plus, that allow me to do this type of coverage. Remember, check them out online at propaneplus.com. If you're having problems, If you use propane, you want to go with Propane Plus online at propaneplus.com. Serving Rhode Island and Massachusetts, you can depend on Propane Plus. And on top of that, I also want to remind you about Serve Pro of Providence. Now, with all the snow that is out there in the Northeast, you're going to have some melting. You may have a problem. You may need to call Serve Pro of Providence. If you have a flood, they also obviously specialize if you have a flood or fire, but Serve Pro of Providence, when disaster strikes, and if suddenly you have water coming in, and if you have water, you could have mold. Call Serve Pro of Providence today. They are just tremendous, and they'll come right out, and they're available. Remember, they go 24/7, the same way that I do. Call Serve Pro of Providence at 401-941-5500. Let me do one more, and that is around here, we're getting more and more people that I've noticed that are taking security measures. And as I try to, and I was saying this morning on Court TV to Julie Grant, I'm seeing when I drive around the Catalina foothills, I see people putting in ring cameras. I see people putting up lights. I see people putting up fences. Remember, a fence can act as a deterrent. If you're thinking of a fence for your home or property, call my friend owner Mike Rizzo, Capital Fence RI, 401-618-4407, online at capitalfenceri.com. Whether it's a fence or gate, most trusted for privacy and security, serving Rhode Island and Massachusetts. Free estimate, Mike Rizzo, 401-618-4407. So for those that are watching and have been following the coverage, and it remains the biggest mystery, and that is, where is Nancy Guthrie? Well, this is uh, pretty traumatic today on this day 25 that I believed, and I don't have this official, and this is one of those things, I don't know if we'll ever gonna know it, but I believe behind the scenes, the Guthrie family or someone speaking on their behalf have basically given an ultimatum to the sheriff to either let the FBI in and let them do their thing, or they were going to publicly request that he turn the case over to the FBI. I also want to mention now, I'm not, to be honest, I'm not always in favor of that. And I understand a lot of people do have misconceptions of the FBI. With a lot of different cases, sometimes people say the FBI should be brought in. There's certain things the FBI do better than others. But as far as this case, I would argue the the strategy, if you will, that the sheriff has employed, I don't think it's been successful. That's number one. Number two, in the beginning, it was his case, Sheriff Christanos. Um, let's face it, there's been mistakes, there's been gaffes. He has been withholding information. He keeps a very tight circle of who he is getting information to, or giving to, I should say. And apparently, people that he's been leaving out of the equation has been the FBI. And again, I fully get that some people would say that's impossible, but it's not like a movie. This is real life. He's very territorial. He's had situations in the past. He's tangled with the FBI. Um, you know, he's been doing this for a long time. He certainly could be resistant and was resistant to them coming in, but the FBI investigators arriving here at Nancy Guthrie's home on day 25, that tells me that someone is getting to him, whoever that may be. Everyone's got a boss. So whether it was a directive to him or whether or not it was either a directive given to him or he came to the realization, but the FBI is here. Now, I want to get to what is the real crux of this whole thing is I am right now, we're still just talking about one individual. There could be more, but we certainly can't see, and we haven't seen more than one person. So could this be a lone wolf? If it's a lone wolf, a lone wolf, we have seen in the past that lone wolves can be tough. Two people, very difficult to keep a secret. Three people, impossible to keep a secret. You don't have to believe me. You watch any of the crime experts, analysts that you see on, television covering this case, and they'll tell you that. And especially when you put up a $1 million reward. But I am starting to wonder, is it possible? I know it sounds crazy and frightening, but is it possible that this is a lone wolf with someone that either was hired or on their own in some grudge towards Savannah Guthrie? I, I, I mean, other than that, because we know that, well, let me backtrack for a moment. Less and less people are believing that the ransom notes that TMZ got, it's sure starting to seem as though that was just some scammer looking to cash in. As a member of law enforcement said to me, that could be someone in the Philippines. That could be someone in Nigeria. That could be someone in another country. There are people, by the way, that they're scammers. They hack into businesses' systems and they threaten they're going to cause all hell unless you pay them what they want. So it's very possible that it's one of those individuals. The whole thing with the Bitcoin and the amount kept changing. But right now, this is, week 4 here, and we're still without a motive. People have speculated on different people that could be involved, unless is it possible that when the FBI starts to, and right now as we speak, the FBI, now they're inside the residence. They've been walking around the outside. They've been going in and out, but right now they're back inside the residence of Nancy Guthrie. I know it might seem hard for some people to believe, but it sure seems as though that this is the first time that they're being given access to the residence. I'm a little surprised that the sheriff, Christanos, isn't with them and isn't, didn't bring them here to kind of show everyone but he's obviously not here. We have not seen him. He hasn't held a press conference since week 1, but this is week 4. And, people are obviously asking me every day, what do I make of this? I mean, more and more that I'm coming to around to people that believe that this really could be some revenge. I mean, on the one hand, it's horrible to Savannah to think that because of her occupation, because of something she reported on, um, the fact that the um, the fact that is it possible that 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 somehow this is all to get back at her? That is, I mean, that is tough to take. Now, right now, an unmarked SUV did pull into the garage. The door closed before anyone could see who got out. So now that is really interesting. Um, and I know some people are trying to speculate as to who might be there. Now, I want to it's possible. Now, right now, we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and we're also live on the radio, AM 1380, 99.9 FM. I am go, if I walked 50 feet, we could see. Now, but here's the thing someone did pull into the garage, but we don't know who pulled into the garage. And so if I move closer than where we are right now, because of this system, that it's very possible then we could start to, the sound gets dicey and goes sideways, and then that doesn't do anybody any good. So if I thought, let me just say this, if there was something like really significant going on the side, or if a family member was there or came over and started talking, then we would go right over. But I'm watching some of the media that are over there, watching where they are, and they're just watching the end of the garage where an SUV, an unmarked SUV, pulled in. Now, someone is speculating, is it possible that that is the brother of Savannah Guthrie? So is it possible that they're actually bringing a family member in? We have not heard that the family has been here. We have not heard that. The media has really been staked out here. The sheriff, when he released the house, people were saying that he released it to the family, but media that was on scene have told me that at no point have they ever seen a member of the Guthrie family come into the house. I have been wondering. Let me just see. Fox drone captures a glimpse inside a carpet, maybe a bed. So that's interesting. The drones are going very close to the house. Um, so there's a lot of activity right now, but nothing on clear substance. Investigators are saying at the front entrance and in the backyard appears to be the most significant law enforcement activities they are well over a week. And so people are posting some of the drone coverage. But I want to come back to that. So far, this is the most activity I want to mention that we've seen of the FBI being on scene. So when this first happened, I think you can see that. That is drone coverage, I believe, from Fox. When this first happened, obviously the investigators were all over here, but then that all quietly they did what they had to, and then you had the sheriff saying, we wrapped up, we got everything we needed to our house. That seems to be different. That certainly has changed. So I want to recap. Again, this is week 4. For those that are watching, we are outside the home of Nancy Guthrie, and this is the most activity that we've had here at the house. I'm going to say probably since the first day, the first 2 days. I was speaking to a neighbor that said there were so many police cars up and down this street when this first happened, but that would have been on February 1st when all that was going on. But we have not seen this type of activity in any way. I'm going to attribute it to, now remember, the sheriff, by all accounts, he won't admit it, but everyone seems to agree he released the crime scene too soon. And what I'm reading into this is, and I know some people may find this hard to believe, but what I'm reading into this is that um, he refused to give access to the FBI. And I'm well aware that, there was a press briefing and he tried to put cold water on the idea that, they were butting heads with the FBI. But the FBI has been doing a lot of talking, and the FBI is not hiding the fact from the media that they were basically, information was being kept out of them, away from them. He wouldn't do a joint command center. And on top of that, what we're seeing right now is, I think this is the first time that the sheriff's actually allowing the FBI to come out and be here at the house at the crime scene, which, again, I recognize some people may, you watch a movie and a film and they're all over the place. And then you have someone he's stubborn and he's very defiant. And the sheriff in the past has had um, a rocky relationship, to put it mildly, with the FBI. He's done on camera interviews where he goes after the FBI because of an investigation they did on him It's about a little over 10 years ago. So I think this could be a breaking point where he may not officially say, and I'm talking about the sheriff now, he may not officially say he's letting them take over the investigation, but behind the scenes, I read this as he's letting them take a bigger role. And a big part of this is the fact that they arrived just about in the last it'll be going on almost 2 hours at the top of the hour that the FBI agents arrived in unmarked vans, and they seem to be thoroughly going through the house. Now, the FBI, I want to point out, the first week we did see them. The last time we saw them here actually was when they were on the roof. And remember, they were the ones, I believe, that they found a neighbor pointed out that Nancy Guthrie had a camera on the roof that no one had touched. So that Friday, let me figure out what day that was. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So on the Friday, now here comes another Pima County Sheriff vehicle going to be entering your screen. The first week, you did see the FBI walking around on the roof, but we have not seen them. They are inside the residence. So that's different. So here you have, again, Pima County Sheriff, more police activity at the house. I don't think it's a bad idea, but I want to go back to, is it possible that, would they pick up on something inside the house? Do they now have something? I want to be very clear that they have not shared with us, because people ask me, how did they get in? How did they get in? There were some people speculating they thought that Nancy Guthrie let them in through the front door. Now, I did not share that, meaning I don't believe that. And then based on what Savannah said yesterday, plucked out of her bed, and the sheriff said plucked out of her bed, I believe that inside, it's very possible. You wouldn't say that to me. You wouldn't say that unless inside the house, the crime scene literally begins right inside her bedroom, right up to her bed. I mean, I hate to even speculate this, but is it possible that the intruder attacked her while she was sleeping? So is there a trail of blood? We don't know this, but is there a trail of blood from her bed? Is there blood in the bed? Is there a trail from the bed all the way out, across the carpet and then down 2 steps, but then it ends. And that's where they believe that she was put into a vehicle. I want to come back to right now, we're still without a motive. And, there have been people saying robbery gone bad, but there's other people saying they don't believe that in any way. So it was not a robbery that went bad. She didn't keep a lot of cash in the house. She didn't have jewels. So what would be, there's been a lot of speculation. And I get that because right now no one knows. So it's all speculation. There are people that have been coming here that still think that they took her south of the border. But I want to come back to, and it's what a known crime expert dubbed FMZ, and that is a 5-mile zone. Yep, a 5-mile zone. They have not left a 5-mile radius around this area. Now, here comes the Pima County Sheriff member again that you're seeing. I think just checking in with the other sheriff at the house. But the big news of the day is that the FBI investigators have come onto the scene. Again, I reckon this is Brian from News Nation. Brian Netton was seeing him walk past. I want to again reiterate, I know that some people don't understand that, but if you've been following the Daily Mail, they had basically anonymous sources, but good sources saying that the sheriff was keeping all the information to himself and two others, and that's it. It wasn't going beyond there. Now, again, I also want to mention Watson Materials. Folks, at some point in the Northeast, all that snow will melt. Watson Materials, 401-885, call Sean, 0600. Watson Materials, request a quote. Watson, the most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island is Watson Materials. Also, as the snow is melting, why not take a ride down and see Marie at It's My Health, 1099 Mendon Road in Cumberland, diagonally across from Davenport Restaurant. The Queen of Health is Marie at It's My Health, 1099 Mendon Road in Cumberland. Stay healthy, keep yourself healthy, keep your family healthy. The Queen of Health is waiting for you as the roads get plowed. Pop in and see Marie at It's My Health, 1099 Mendon Road in Cumberland. Well, this is pretty significant. Now, granted, when I was out week 2, we did see FBI agents quickly. Again, we are in front of the home of Nancy Guthrie. It is week 4. We did see FBI agents walk across the front of her property. There is some grass. I wouldn't say there's a lot of grass, but not a lot of people. I mean, this is a desert, so not a lot of people. You don't see lavish lawns around here, that's for sure. But we did see them walk across the property. They were searching and looking around the property, but not like this. Not the way that these investigators, these FBI investigators, arrived. And that tells me we haven't seen them like this. They're going back to the house. They're coming back to the house for clues. They either want to, this is several things, and I'm going to get text from a former FBI agent. This is intelligence, maybe a tip that they want to confirm something or they want to rule something out. This person also says this type of sweep, the way they're inside and almost trying to retrace the steps of the individual. And again, this is an former FBI agent saying that they believe that this is most likely the first time that they have been allowed to do this. And that's hard. I know that seems hard to believe. What's also hard to believe is just the fact that the sheriff released the crime scene. Then the tape went back up. Then, if you remember, as I said, they were up on the roof, but now you have them far more extensive. I think it's interesting if that is Savannah Guthrie's brother, Cam, that people are speculating. Is it possible that he is inside the residence with the agents? Um, that is an unknown. I also want to thank folks and remind you about Kids Club on the Pike. Call Kristen 401-443-5336. They have several locations. They are an option for daycare. They're an option for preschool. They're an option for activities before and after school. Kids Club on the Pike. Look for their social media, several locations, and then obviously their main location. They do have one in Warwick, but they're also right off of 295 on the Cranston Johnston line. I was seeing another vehicle, but it's just a sheriff vehicle pulling into the driveway. So this is the most activity we have seen here at the residence of Nancy Guthrie since so there's a number of law enforcement officials that are here at the scene. But what I think is really significant about this is is just the amount of activity and how I believe just in the last 24 to 48 hours, they they let me just see. I was getting some more information here. Um, let me just Someone's putting out something else. I'm going to do that one. The unlocked SUV. Interesting. There is speculation that Cameron brother is here, but I have not. If he was here in an SUV and pulled into the garage, he could have been ducked down in an SUV. Now listen, if someone is ducking down in an SUV, Savannah Guthrie could be in the house. Annie Guthrie could be in the house right now. I mean, I have no idea if that is the case. You are seeing some activity for watching right now with the sheriff and the vehicle moving, but that's just, they kind of rotate in and out. I've noticed that they're more active now. There were times that they were just kind of sitting in the vehicle. They seem to be far more active, especially when you got investigators that are inside the house. But I would describe this as, so this is going on 2 hours now that it would appear that FBI investigators are here, and several of the investigators that arrived in suits. Now, the speculation with the media is that they are not Pima County Sheriff investigators, that they are, in fact, FBI. And I would concur with that because, as far as if you're Savannah's family, um, Sheriff Chris Danos and his investigators, I mean, they've had more than enough time to do whatever they have to do. You don't want to do Monday morning quarterback, but 6 to 7 investigators are inside. The fact is, I'm going to go back to what I said, and that is that it sure seems as though in the last 48 hours that things are shifting somewhat here because this is not the norm. I think this is the sheriff who is, in fact, he's got to be feeling the heat. And I mean behind the scenes. I think behind the scenes, he is definitely feeling heat. You also got to wonder, there was talk about Savannah, who calls herself, by the way, a daughter of the desert, a daughter of the desert. But, we've heard that Savannah, once she got the call from her family and she was packing to come out here from the New York area, that one of the first people she called was Senator Mark Kelly. And I don't know this, but I wonder if he's also on the behalf of the Guthrie family, if the senator is making it clear to the sheriff, like something's got to give here. I'll say this, the path that the sheriff has been down has not yielded. I mean, let's talk facts. Has not yielded any substantial suspects in this week 4. We don't have motive. We don't have suspects. We don't have vehicle used. Think about this. Week 4, other than the person in the mask, there are people on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. And they're people who it's their picture identified. But as of right now, we don't have a be on the lookout for a certain vehicle. We don't have a be on the lookout for a certain individual. And I'm not talking about a guy in a mask. I'm talking about someone without a mask. We don't have any of that. So I would think, I'm willing to give benefit of the doubt. I'll say that in the past, that the sheriff, the way that he's conducted and run the Pima County Sheriff organization, I'm willing to say that in the past, he's had success doing things a certain way. But something that cannot be denied is his method of handling the investigation has not yielded results. Because otherwise, if it had, then we wouldn't be sitting here in the 4th week trying to, at the very least, we're not even talking about a vehicle. We're not even talking about, it's one thing that you want to name. So it's not that. It's they don't have a vehicle. They don't have a name. They don't have a picture of Mask Man without his mask on. So I believe what we are seeing is the FBI finally, maybe not publicly given the lead, but behind the scenes, finally being given access to everything within the investigation. One other thing, I'll be very curious to see if at the end of the day, if FBI Phoenix releases a statement instead of all the information coming from the Pima County Sheriff. If you listen to the radio, stay tuned for the top of the hour news. Again, week 4, the search goes on for Nancy Guthrie, for everybody else. I am going to while we're here, I'm going to take a walk down and just show you what everyone's looking at the end of the driveway. And I will be on Court TV again tomorrow morning. They've already booked me for tomorrow. Must have liked the appearance today. Now, again, if it gets glitchy, if we start to break up, nothing I can do. We're venturing into high traffic area and more increased Wi-Fi area. But this is the side. And apparently, this video is vehicles going on into the garage. So here you see them coming out. Oh, look at the timing for this. That's a lot. It's perfect timing, as a matter of fact. Here comes the SUV that was in the garage. That's where someone speculated a family members in the back seat. There are the 3 SUVs rolling out. Look at that. Just like in the movies. 3 SUVs rolling out. What did they find inside? Certainly set off a flurry with the media. A lot of activity on this day 25. But FBI investigators finally given access to the scene. What did they find? Right, folks, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back later. More updates.